President Biden has many advisors, but likely none more important than the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden. The author and educator has been a key presence in these first 100 days of the administration. And joining us now is author Lauren Leader. She is the co-founder and CEO of All In Together, a nonpartisan women's civic and political organization. And you are writing about Dr. Jill Biden today, Lauren, because you think this role, in terms of the first 100 days, should be looked at as well. Why?
Well, I do. And actually, I was so struck by the books that you've been highlighting on the show, Julia Swagg's book about Nancy Reagan and, about Lady Bird Johnson, and Karen Tumulty's new book on Nancy Reagan. These books were so impactful to me because I realized that we are so quick to overlook the legacies of the First Ladies, and we tend not to take them seriously in their own times. You know, they do play an extraordinary role, not just as the closest and arguably most important advisor to their spouse, the president, but they also in their own right wield extraordinary soft power if they choose to do it. And I think we've seen now, obviously throughout the history of the United States, that we delay our attention and delay history's place that these women really deserve. And I think as we talk about the legacy of Joe Biden in these first 100 days, we can't leave her out.
Well, it's interesting because if you look at past First Ladies, many of them have played pivotal roles, some say too much of a role, in helping their husbands. But they've also taken on issues and really tried to help society better itself in one way or another. Jill Biden is somewhat transformational because she is coming to the White House as a First Lady who's going to have her own job and her own identity, who is holding on to her career and bringing it forward into the White House. And she's had a bit of practice with this because she's an educator. She teaches English at Northern Virginia Community College, and she has for years. In fact, she taught all 8 years while serving as second lady. And much of the time, those students didn't even know she was married to the vice president until one student came up to her and said, I saw you in a picture with Michelle Obama. What was that about? And she was like, oh, don't worry about it. So some of them knew the secret, but she really took pride in having her own identity and being able to live out her role as an educator. And I do think having your own identity as First Lady and your own career is something very new.
It's totally new, but it's also extraordinary. I mean, look, and it's not just that she's decided to continue teaching despite the criticism, in which she has really cast aside, and good for her because it's ridiculous. The idea that somehow she's supposed to give up on her identity, the thing that makes her whole. You know, she always describes herself as, you know, being a teacher is who she is. Why should she give up who she is in order to be First Lady? And so that's such a profound statement. But she's also built out the East Wing staff with some very serious policymakers. She's committed to 3 key areas: cancer research, military families, and education. And these are all really important to her, and she plans to work on policy and substance. It's really an extraordinary symbol, but it's more than a symbol. It has real value and impact. And you know, this piece that I wrote for the USA Today about this, I wrote it with presidential historian Mark Updegrove, who's the president of the LBJ Library. And we talked about the fact that we need historians, both in the present and in the future, to really fully recognize the role that First Ladies play, and the fact that we are so quick in many ways to discard them, to cast aside their role as just a spouse. And I think that's a mistake. So I agree with you. She's breaking the mold in some extraordinary ways that lays the groundwork, not just for future First Ladies, but for women everywhere.
Hey, Lauren, it's Willie. It's great to see you today. You know, it was fascinating to me to see the way that Dr. Biden has been deployed to, not just for what we would view as sort of typical First Lady missions, but also to go out and advocate for example, the COVID relief bill or the infrastructure bill, and to go to places where maybe Joe Biden isn't as popular to make the case.
Absolutely. And, she went to Alabama, deep red Alabama, which went for Donald Trump by, 64% voted for Donald Trump in deep red Alabama. But she was deployed there to talk to families as a mom, as an educator, about the impact of the COVID relief bill. And it's soft diplomacy, but boy, is it powerful, because there is a way in which the first ladies can connect with people across lines of difference that is meaningful. And, Joe Biden knew exactly what he was doing in sending her there. She's able to show up in places that you could say are really hostile to democratic politics and just connect with people. That has enormous power. I mean, talk about an ambassador for the administration's agenda. And she's continuing to do that. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. She went with him to Texas after the crisis there last month. We're going to see her going to places and spaces where she has an ability to make transformational difference and really bring people together across lines of political difference.
And as we close, I just want to say what I really respect about Joe and Jill Biden is that they've been in Washington serving for decades. And so Dr. Jill Biden, brings to her role as First Lady and to the 3 issues that she's taken on a lot of experience so she can hit the ground running. And what I respect about both of them is that they chose to come back. A lot of people, after being in the vice presidency or in the Senate for decades, they're out of there. They're done. They've done their time, but they keep coming back to serve. And I appreciate, Lauren, you're taking some time to look at the First Lady in this first 100 days. Lauren Leader, thank you so much. The piece for USA Today is titled "A Podium If She Cares to Use It." And that does it for us this morning. Stick with MSNBC for